All right, we are officially the first kids on our block to have the new Hero 4 Black. You can see it looks pretty much the same as the old Hero 3 Plus. The LEDs have been moved a little bit here. Power button still on the front, shutter button still on the top. Some of the big changes, the battery is now on the bottom. You can see it comes out sort of holster-like, and it is not compatible with the Hero 3 Plus battery. You can see comes out like that, and it looks a little different. Battery life is still about the same. The Hero 4 is twice as powerful as the Hero 3 Plus. So let's get it on. And I've already been shooting with this camera, so you can see that we are set at this new amazingly large format, 4K, 24 frames per second. It'll do as fast as 4K 30, which gives you kind of a TV look. The image files that come out of it are amazingly large. You can push in on them. Really versatile camera for, you can see, it fits in the palm of your hand here. So the Hero 4 Black, as with the Hero 4 Silver, the old Wi-Fi button, you can see the Wi-Fi is off here because this blue light is not on, has been turned into a settings button. So whichever mode you're in, this little button here on the side is going to turn on the settings. So right now we're in video mode. Let's take a look at the video settings, and let's just go through some of these settings. Some of the, I think the most useful setting, what you're going to want to spend most of your time shooting in, is probably 2.7K 50. And what that does is that gives you the use of a huge part of the sensor. Also, you're shooting at a little bit high speed so that if something interesting happens, you can still slow the camera down. You can still slow the tape down and capture some of that action. So let's take a look at how we do that. To adjust the settings, to scroll down, you use the power button. So we'll scroll down. In the Hero 4, unlike some of the previous models where you had to sort of know what the icons meant, this one, it actually just tells you right here, resolution. You can see it written at the top. So look for that if you're, some of those more obscure menu items like sharpening and white balance, where I can never remember what they are. It just says it for you right up here at the top. So look for that. So 4K, let's go down to 2.7K. We'll go to 2.7K, and then instead of 24, we're using the top button to toggle within the menu and the power button to toggle up and down the menu. Once you get the hang of that, you'll be able to do it really quickly. It's like a video game. So 24, 46, 30, 24, 48. So that's the fastest that you're going to get, which is 2.7K 48. And essentially what that is the way that the frame rates work. If you're shooting at 23.97 as your base rate, you'll want to shoot in multiples of that. So slowing that down by half means that you're shooting at 48 frames per second. So that gives you your 180 shutter angle, makes things look perceptually sharp, looks really nice. You can slow it down, you can shoot it at normal speed. I think, in talking to the engineers at GoPro, this 2.7K 48 frame per second is probably going to be the go-to for most people. It's not what the camera comes out of the box shooting at, so you'll want to be able to change it. 2.7K 48 and shooting in wide. Let's see, so we have our low light compensation. We can leave that off. We can leave the spot meter off. Pro Tune, I've got it on right now. If you turn Pro Tune off, it basically just shortens the menu for you. Pro Tune allows you to have slightly larger files, and it does some interesting things with the color where it gives you more latitude to do color correction in post. If you're the kind of person who obsesses about your edits and you're really into that sort of thing, you're definitely going to want to use Pro Tune. If not, the default settings look pretty darn good. So we can just take a quick look at Pro Tune. One of the things in the new Hero 4 Black edition, also the Silver edition, that it allows you to do is to have different Pro Tune settings for photo and video. So they've added Pro Tune for photo in the video mode. We'll turn it on and leave the white balance on auto. They allow you to toggle between GoPro color, which is their sort of normal, which is the sort of poppy kind of video look that GoPro has come up with. You can also turn it to flat. that flat setting allows your footage to take filters and kind of Instagram looks a little bit better. So if that's what you're into, go ahead and set your color palette to flat rather than GoPro color, and then pump it back up later using GoPro Studio or Adobe Premiere or whatever editor you prefer to use. ISO, the ISO defaults coming into these cameras. The ISO defaults to 6400. I'm not sure why they did that. The GoPro handles ISO 6400 pretty well without giving you too much noise, but definitely prefer to pull that ISO down from 6400 down to 400. And then we'll just leave the sharpness at high. I'm not very good at understanding what the sharpening does. I don't see the difference that well because generally you're downsizing this stuff from 2.7K and 4K down to 1080, which is what most people are still uploading to YouTube. But we'll just leave it at high. Exposure compensation is a really important feature that GoPro has finally added here. It allows you to override what the light meter in your camera sees. Like if you're shooting somebody whose backlit has the sun behind them, or if you're shooting on snow where the snow is really bright and the camera thinks that it's brighter out than it actually is, it will tend to underexpose. So what you can do is you can go right back in here, and if you're shooting into the sun or if you're shooting on snow, you just tell the camera that you're doing that by setting the exposure compensation to between half and 1 stop to overexpose, so that you fool it right back and you get the proper exposure. That's something that you're definitely going to want to remember. One of the sort of chronic problems of GoPro footage is that if you're not shooting on a really even light day, things can start to look a little wonky with shadows looking dark. This is a really great way to fix it. And then after you've messed with ProTune, definitely play with it. If you don't like the results, you can always just go back here and reset ProTune, and it will reset everything to the factory defaults. So let's get out of that. And now we're shooting in 2.7K 48, which is probably going to be the most useful just everyday setting arrangement for you. Let's take a look at the photo settings too. One of the things that GoPro has added with the Hero 4 is night time lapsing. And so we'll switch over to time-lapse mode. And let's see, instead of burst mode, we'll do night lapse, time lapse, night lapse. So it's actually got, you can see that what it has there, it's got a burst mode, time lapse, and then night lapse. And so what night lapse does is it's going to compensate for, it knows that it needs to leave the shutter open for at least 10 seconds. And essentially, you can just leave everything on auto. You want to shoot at 12 megapixels. And your interval, if you do it continuous, essentially it's gonna at night you generally want to leave your interval being continuous because the shutter has to stay open for so long. Your time lapses, the clouds are going to whip by pretty quickly, so just go ahead and leave it on continuous. Spot meter off, ProTune is on, and we've got auto or color. We'll leave it flat because we're going to pump it up a little bit later. ISO, if you're shooting a night lapse, you probably are going to need to go ahead and be at your maximum ISO. I didn't realize this. It looks like your maximum ISO in photo mode is only ISO 800 rather than ISO 6400. So you put it at ISO 800, leave it at high, exposure compensation. If the moon's out, if you're shooting into the moon, you might want to mess with that exposure compensation. The moon at night, if you're shooting long exposures, can be extremely bright. And then exit. So if we're shooting night lapse, you would just put the camera on a tripod. The other thing that you're definitely going to need with night lapse is some kind of power source, external power source. One thing that you can use is one of these Brunton guys. It's like a little bit, it's like a little USB battery. A lot of the quality of the footage that you get out of these things is going to be dependent on which case you use, and that is because the audio that a Hero 4 produces is actually pretty good. You can see that the speakers for the Hero 4 right here. And if you've ever heard that sort of annoying kind of muffled sound, you hear it a lot in kayaking videos, the sound of GoPro. GoPro speakers are actually pretty good if you can just leave them uncovered. So instead of shooting with the dive back, which is the full waterproof, what you want to do is pop this guy off. And then to get the different backs off, all you do is once it's open, you just pull them off. You can see there. Yeah, so on this one, instead of having, you can see, just allows you to get some air in there. It'll mean that the camera doesn't fog as much. It will also allow the speakers to pick up slightly better sound. So skeleton back should be your first go-to. The other thing that is a really useful frame that I like to use a lot, it's called just called the frame. This actually has the frame on it, and they used to make a version of this that required you to take off you had to unscrew it here in order to get it out. The new version has this little quick release latch, so you just pop the quick release latch, you can slide it right out. So way easier now. This frame is the best thing to use on a head mount, really unobtrusive, easy to use, easy to get in and out of. A lot of the GoPro guys who I have met with, it seems like this is their go-to for anything where they're not actually going to put the camera in the elements. So get out there, get some mounts, make some movies, have some fun. I think this new camera is really great, and you're really gonna like it.